What happened behind closed doors when Jin poured his soul into Echo. The truth hidden inside Velvet Mirror will break your heart when fans first glimpsed the haunting imagery of Jin BTS's Echo album concept: black velvet shadows, trembling spotlights, and a locket glinting against his chest. They knew something had changed. They could feel it. This wasn't just a new era. It was a confession. But what fans didn't know, until now, was the deeply personal heartbreak that fueled one of the album's most emotional songs. Sources close to Bigot Music revealed that during one of the final recording sessions for Echo, Jin arrived at the studio carrying something no one had seen before: a small, crumpled envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter from his mother. The contents of the letter have never been fully disclosed, but insiders who witnessed the moment say it contained memories from Jin's childhood, encouragements she had never dared to say aloud while he was rising to fame, and a single powerful reminder: you were already enough long before the world ever noticed. Witnesses said that as Jin read the letter, a deep stillness filled the studio. His hands shook slightly. His eyes glistened under the dim lights. He didn't speak. He didn't move for several minutes. And then, without warning, he simply folded the letter carefully, placed it beside the mic stand, and asked the sound engineer to start recording. The song he chose to record right after reading that letter was none other than Velvet Mirror, the emotional centerpiece of Echo that fans now call the soul of the album. And this is where the story turns unforgettable. Unlike typical K-pop studio recordings, where multiple takes are edited together to achieve perfection, Jin insisted that Velvet Mirror be captured in a single take, and second chances. No edits. No tuning. He wanted the rawness, the cracks, the moments when the words almost choked in his throat. Staff members present during the session described it as one of the most emotionally overwhelming performances they had ever witnessed. He wasn't just singing, said the vocal engineer, barely able to find the words. He was remembering. He was pleading. It was like he was standing in front of a version of himself he had long buried, and finally saying, "I see you." Midway through recording, Jin's voice reportedly faltered, not because he forgot the lyrics, but because he was fighting back tears. For a brief, breathtaking moment, he almost stopped. The entire control room held its breath. But Jin simply closed his eyes, gripped the microphone tighter, and pushed through the final chorus. The final, unedited recording of Velvet Mirror remains exactly as it was that night. Every breath, every tremble, every silent cry woven into the melody. And that's what fans will hear when Echo releases on May 16th, 2025. It's not just a song. It's a conversation with his past self, to tribute to the unwavering love of a mother, and a surrender to the pain he had carried for far too long. Insiders revealed that after the recording was complete, Jin didn't immediately celebrate. Instead, he sat alone in the vocal booth, the studio lights low, his head bowed over the letter beside him. He didn't need applause. He didn't need validation. He had already won the only battle that mattered. The battle to be seen. Not as an idol, not as a performer, but as seokjin, the boy who once sang into a wooden spoon in his childhood living room, dreaming of a world that might one day hear him. And now, finally, they will. Velvet Mirror is said to contain lyrics so personal that even the Bigot editing team debated whether to include them fully in the public release. Some lines reportedly referenced Jin's fears of being forgotten, his struggle with self-image during BTS's explosive fame, and moments when he questioned whether the world loved the real him, or simply the version they had created. But ultimately, it was Jin's decision. He chose to keep everything. He told us, said one senior producer, "If my voice shakes, let it shake. If I cry, let them hear me cry. That's the only way it's real." And so they did. The final master of Echo includes Jin's raw vocals exactly as they were recorded that night. No polish, no filter, only truth. And the lead up to the album's release, snippets of Velvet Mirror were shared in teasers, brief echoes of a piano line, the ghost of a faltering breath. But no one, not even the most devoted armies, could have imagined the full emotional impact waiting behind the studio walls. Now, fans are bracing themselves for a song that isn't meant to make you dance. It's meant to make you stop. T.O. breathe, T.O. listen, because hidden in every note of Velvet Mirror is a simple, heartbreaking truth. Sometimes it takes a lifetime and a letter from home to finally recognize the reflection staring back at you. And Jin, he's not running from that reflection anymore. He's walking straight into it. The tears Jin shed in that dimly lit recording booth didn't stay there. They became sound. They became history. And soon, they became silent, shared ache between millions of people around the world who would hear Velvet Mirror and realize they weren't just listening to a singer. They were witnessing a man open old wounds and stitch them shut right before their eyes. What made the recording of Velvet Mirror even more powerful was how unplanned it was. The original schedule for the day had been simple: record backup vocals, shoot concept B-roll, review choreography concepts. It wasn't meant to be a day of emotional reckoning. But that letter changed everything. When Jin finished recording, he didn't immediately leave the booth. Instead, he sat on the floor, back against the glass wall, letter still clutched in his hand. Staff members who witnessed it said no one dared disturb the silence. Some technicians reportedly turned away, hiding their own tears, and above them, on the main console, the vocal track of Velvet Mirror played softly, unfiltered, imperfect, and devastatingly beautiful. Across town, in a small cafe near Bigot's headquarters, a few members of the Echo creative team were huddled together, finalizing the first draft of the album's teaser plan. News hadn't yet reached them about what had happened in the studio that night. But when it did, they unanimously agreed to make Velvet Mirror the emotional heartbeat of the entire promotional rollout. "It didn't matter what the executives wanted," said one of the visual directors. "We heard that vocal take, and we knew the album wasn't about breaking records. It was about breaking through." Bigot's marketing department immediately shifted strategies. The colorful, glamorous teaser ideas were scrapped in their place. Black and white visuals, grainy film textures, echoing voiceovers, snapshots of memories blurred at the edges. Every piece of Echo's promotional content was now built around the rawness captured in that recording session. And fans felt it. In one of the pre-release listening parties held privately in Seoul, a select group of journalists and influencers were invited to hear a 3-minute excerpt from Velvet Mirror. The room reportedly fell into stunned silence as Jin's raw voice cracked during the bridge, a moment when he sings about the boy who sang to shadows, waiting for a voice to call him home. Reporters who attended the event described the experience as emotionally suffocating in the best way. Some couldn't even bring themselves to ask questions afterward. They simply nodded, overwhelmed, because how do you interview someone who has just handed you their entire soul? Meanwhile, back at Bigot, the story of the letter quietly circulated among staff, almost like an urban legend. "Did you hear? Did you see the envelope? Did you read what his mom said?" No one officially confirmed the letter's full content. They didn't need to. The result was printed across every frame, every breath, every beat of Velvet Mirror. And then came the reactions from Jin's closest family, BTS themselves. Sources close to the group revealed that RM, the leader, was the first to hear Velvet Mirror after Jin finalized the recording. In a private listening session, RM sat across from Jin, headphones on, his head bowed. Halfway through the song, he reportedly pulled off the headphones and covered his face with both hands, staying like that for nearly a full minute. When he finally spoke, all he said was, "Hyung, it's like I'm hearing you for the first time." Jimin, known for his deep emotional bond with Jin, was said to be visibly shaking after listening to the raw cut. He later posted a cryptic message on Weverse: "There's a mirror we all avoid." Hyung looked straight into his. Even Jungkook, who tends to be more reserved with public emotions, sent Jin a private voice message that later leaked. "I'm proud of you, Hyung. I hope you're proud of yourself too." The internal atmosphere at Bigot shifted yet again. Staff who once doubted the emotional resonance of a rockstar Jin concept now championed him as a pioneer, not just for BTS, but for the entire Korean music industry, because what Jin had done was unprecedented. He had blurred the lines between idol and artist, between entertainment and vulnerability, between polished perfection and broken beauty, and all of it, every shattered wall, every unfiltered tear, could be traced back to a single act of courage: reading a letter from home, a letter that reminded him he wasn't made for labels or expectations.